Good morning, everybody, and welcome to RHI. These are times where we share stories about courage, hope, attitude, and inspiration. We are able to do this with our wonderful sponsors who have helped us a great deal, Wilson, Kehoe, and Whittingham, so we really appreciate all their level of support on that. My name is Dan Voloshin. I'm the CEO here at Rehab Hospital of Indiana, and this is an exciting time to be able to be a part of this. I've been a part of RHI for going on 8 years now, and I have the privilege to be able to talk to our guest today, which I'll introduce in a bit. Our first guest is Bill Crouch here, and he has his wife with him, Hera Crouch. I always like to tell a little story in terms of how I felt how I feel when I meet people. So now Bill's not aware of this, right? But when I first met Bill, he was contemplating being a part of the RHI Sports Board. We kind of went back and forth and kind of talked through a variety of different types of stories. And one thing that really struck me about Bill was, and I think you'll see this as well, that he wears his heart on his sleeve. When we started talking about the RHI Sports Program and just kind of his experiences and what he believes in and where his motivations are, I couldn't but stop thinking about just how connected he is with just the human condition. And he's certainly a blessing to have a part of our board, and you will see that through and through when he begins to tell you the stories about, again, what motivates him. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to a very, very special guest and guests, Mr. Bill Crouch. So I guess I'll start off by asking you, as I kind of alluded here initially, what kind of motivated you to be a part of the RHI Sports Program and contemplated being a part of the board?
Yeah, well, thank you, Dan. I started this as we have a foundation for our son, Alex Crouch, which we started when he passed away about 7 years ago. And working with kids and working with helping young golfers to get into the game, and one thing led to another with respect to children and some of our connections here that we share to get involved into the RHI side, which I really hadn't had a lot of exposure to. And so when I came into the fold here and started looking around and inquiring, and as being a member and a part of this, I was struck by the work that you guys do and the kids and the mental states that they come in, and the power of being a part of this community and literally saving their lives from situations where they were thrust into a wheelchair or had other disabilities that made them a part of this community, that really gave them hope and life and excitement and just literally saving their lives. And you hear that a lot, but I believe in this case it really, really is true.
That's amazing. It's amazing. I guess I could, as I initially introduced you, I feel your compassion. I feel something in you.
Yeah.
When you first saw somebody or one of our athletes play, or you mentioned kind of changing lives, tell me how you felt when your first experience with seeing an athlete.
I was literally taken aback. You don't even understand. It's one thing for me to run around and when we get hurt, we would hurt a leg or we sprain an ankle, or we can come back from that, right? It's not a permanent situation, if you will. And so when I saw those kids in their specialized wheelchairs and all the different mechanisms and things that they have to do and all the help that they have to get, but yet they still have a smile on their face. Right, that is amazing to see them in that condition, and even in wheelchairs where they're literally relying on the chair for everything. It took my breath away, for lack of a better way to say it, and just made me. It's hard to fathom. It's just hard to wrap your heart and head around. And
that's wonderful, wonderful. You are offering up a lot of your time. All right? You volunteer your services on our board, and we're, again, as I mentioned, we're blessed to have you on the board.
I appreciate that.
Certainly your ideas, your vision, how you feel about our athletes, just who you are. You have a great sense of humor. I think you've combined you combined your sense of humor with that heart I talked about.
Right.
And it's about being kind of somebody who's humanistic, and you reflect a lot of those values that we just talked about here. You know, courage, hope, attitude, inspiration. And you bring that to the board. That's something we really appreciate. Tell me what you'd like to see. I mean, you're certainly going to talk a little bit about some just phenomenal level of support that you're providing the RHI Sports Program. But tell me a little bit about what you'd like to see dollars to go to. Or what would you like to see in the RHI Sports Program, you know, for kind of on a futuristic type basis?
I would like to see those dollars going into helping more kids get involved, more adults getting involved. Even we haven't really spoken about the adults that end up in the same situation that gives them a new lease on life too. But I think the more that we can get more people involved into the community that don't really know anything about us, and that's before I came on, I had no visibility, no knowledge. I didn't have a family member involved, and there wasn't really a connection other than my friends and the way things happened for me and came in that way. But I'd like to see more people get involved, and the bigger sports organizations to help us to drive awareness and drive kids to us, and they come, and if they don't have the means to participate, then we help them. We get more people involved and expand our reach into the community is what I'd really like to see.
That's a wonderful, wonderful vision. And I know right before we went on camera here, we talked a little bit about knowing our patients, knowing people, and knowing how they move through healthcare systems. And we know in this day and age it's very complex. It's very difficult for patients, for others to know patients, as you kind of alluded to, even knowing the RHI Sports Program.
Right.
Any comments on how the sports program as a part of this overarching RHI system helps in those terms?
Oh, I think the benefits of the sports program are the key, really. I feel like, you know, if you get into this community and you haven't been a part of a team, or, you know, you've been sitting at home and life hasn't been what you'd really hoped for it to be or wanted it to be, now all of a sudden you have like people in the same room. You're all sharing the same issues, and you're dealing with the same things in life, and you're trying to figure out how to navigate this. And inside of that community, I think the sports aspect of it brings all that to life and gives everyone a chance to be a part of this, and, you know, creates this vibrancy for living that perhaps they haven't had before. And that's really the way I look at it. I think it's a huge component too.
You're almost you're kind of a quasi-diagnostician here and an expert, you know, on things. When you start talking about community and talk about being a part of something, I mean, I think we all want to be a part of something. Right. And as you mentioned, when you have an athlete that's a part of something, it does change a life. It changes lives, you know, and it's pretty compelling. We hear a lot from our athletes, we hear a lot from our patients that say when they're a part of something that's meaningful, as you pointed out, part of community, part of something that may be competitive, where they can kind of, again, as you do, put their heart out there and be everything they can be to their team members and to themselves and to their families and friends. It's changed their life. And we've had situations where people have contemplated suicide, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's a very interesting thing, because it's and what the sports program has done, and as you pointed out, how that camaraderie came together and that vision you have it changed a life, right? Then those thoughts of suicidal ideation and plans and things of that sort, that was diminished to nothing.
Right.
And there's a quality of life there that I think we all want to be a part of.
A sense of belonging too.
A sense of belonging.
Yeah,
Right?
I think that's something everybody strives for.
Yeah, and it's I want to you know, defer to Hera here, your right hand, left hand, and
That's
all
right.
hands.
That's right.
Is it a fair statement?
I
Bill,
would say that.
you know, I think so.
Couldn't
I guess,
survive that.
Hera, you know, just in meeting you, I mean, I guess the analog to each other, right? You know, wearing your heart on your sleeve. I felt as well a sense of compassion in you.
Right.
And can you tell me a little bit about, you know, just so Bill being involved, right, in the board, and as both of you are involved in these initiatives, and some of your personal experiences related to this as well.
Well, I was a special needs teacher for middle schoolers, so I dealt with a lot of the not as much physical handicaps, but more of the emotional handicaps. And so when he started talking to me about this, I was like, of course, why not? Of course, what a great idea. I didn't even know something like this even existed. It just made sense to partner up with such a great cause. I don't know.
It's a wonderful statement. I mean, and being a special needs teacher, I didn't know that, right? So I guess we learn everything in these interviews, right?
Yeah.
Something new. But your connectedness with people, connectedness with their losses, could be temporary, permanent, however that might be, and your contributions to helping support somebody kind of working through some of those issues, and how this all comes together, right, in terms of helping support people, right, our patients, our athletes, in ways that I guess it's probably fair to say in ways that are extremely unique. This is new to you, or was new to you, right?
Yes.
New to you both,
Yeah.
right? But and that's what makes it even that much more special. You come onto something very unique, never knew about it, and how does that mesh too with these values that all of you believe in, and mesh with your personal experience with your own son?
Right.
So I can't tell you how blessed we are to have you, Bill, and Hera as well.
Thank you very much.
And it's those contributions that you make are an obvious blessing, but the other side of things too is what you bring, right, to that, and you bring a person to our organization and to our board, and just the bottom line is to our patients, right, and to our athletes, that that is the part of camaraderie and team that is about ensuring that people have a quality life, and we bring that to them. So, and again, I want to reiterate, we are extremely blessed, right, to have you both. All right, thank you for all of your time and which you volunteer. So, with all of that, maybe you want to talk a little bit about this dollar vision that you want translated from a dollar to a vision that you stated. Tell us a little bit about this additional blessing that we've just acquired.
To put our money where our mouth is.
Yeah.
We have the golf outing that we started 7 years ago was really a child born out of my son's friends. Josh Long, Alex Heika, Brent Fleshhood, all of those guys, Adam Wright. They had the idea, and they also today help serve on the committee, and it's grown, and it's been a great event all these years. And so sometimes after a while they sort of fizzle out. You sort of get everyone's getting involved, and then they stop coming. Well, this year we had more teams than we knew what to do with. We had people coming out of the woodwork from all walks of life, from angles I never anticipated, from friends of friends that heard about it, came and wanted to be a part of it. I mean, it was amazing. Really, like I've never seen. I didn't anticipate it. I never expected that to really happen the way it did. And I think that we set out with a goal to raise $10,000 this year as being part of this. It really sort of fueled me a little bit more to get others involved and get them to help get their corporate sponsors involved, and just let's see what we can do. And we did, and with the help of Michael Fitz at Cliff Bar, and Tracy, his wife, and Phil and Kelly Whiting, and all of these couples that have go out and fundraise on our behalf, which you've met a couple of those. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that we don't even probably thank enough for doing what they do for our little group here, our little community. But with Janine coming out and Mindy coming out and speaking to the group and really getting some presence, and I mean, we hit our goal, which is what we were come to.
That's phenomenal.
Give you our check for $10,000 for this year, and we look forward to next year and trying to figure out ways we can raise that, and would love to get others involved from the community. And I think we're just on the precipice of something big here. So
wow.
Yeah.
Huge thank you.
Yes.
Huge thank you.
Absolutely.
That's a wow. That's a wow.
Yeah.
So
it's a great feeling to be a part of, and to be able to. I don't think people understand how much helping others for nothing, right? We don't ask for anything back ever, and just the the warmth that you get and the
Makes your
healing
heart
of your
feel good.
soul
Yeah.
that you get from seeing the smiles on everybody's faces and knowing you're part of doing something big it's hard to talk about and put in words.
Well, well, it reminds me of, and I see you're tearing up here a little bit, which is, you know,
Pretty usual.
that alone is pretty special in itself.
Yeah.
That reminds me of, you know, it is hard to put in words, but I guess I would say this, when I think of you saying that, it's about really being a servant leader to others, a servant, serving others, you
Yeah.
know, and you know, when you do that unconditionally, and
Very
that's
true.
kind of how I see you, Bill, and Hera, I don't know if there's anything better than that, you know.
I agree.
You know, so, with that said, I can't say thank you enough to you, to both of you. Thank you for being a part of this family here, you know, and that family extends not only to our employees, but our patients, our athletes, and doing it in a way that certainly is genuine, it's feeling, it's meaningful, and it's unconditional, you know,
Yeah.
so, much appreciated.
Yes,
So,
sir.
so with that.
Thank you.
all right,
Our
thank
pleasure.
Hera, thank you.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Right.